My sister stole credit for the $4,800 I sent my parents over 6 months. My parents kicked me out on Christmas Eve for lying. But when we both went to the bank and they saw all the real receipts, my sister's mask fell off and my parents were left speechless. I'm 28 years old. I've been working in digital marketing for like 5 years now. And honestly, I need to tell this story because what happened at Christmas literally changed my entire family dynamic. And when I say changed, I mean that finally, after years of being the invisible daughter, I got my parents to see the truth. I guess I should start by explaining a bit about my family context, because if not, none of this is going to make sense. I grew up being basically the second choice in everything. My sister Alexandra, who's 2 years older than me, was always the star of the family, the one who got good grades without trying, the one who was popular at school, the one who said the right things at the right time. I was quieter, more reserved, and I guess my parents just decided she was more interesting or something. It's not that they treated me badly exactly, but there was a clear difference in how they saw us. When Alexandra achieved something, it was celebration time, special dinner, calls to all the relatives. When I accomplished something, it was like, "Oh, that's nice, honey," and they'd go on with their day. You know what I mean? It wasn't abuse or anything dramatic. It was just that constant feeling of being the B option. The thing is that despite all that, I love my parents. They're good people, honestly, hardworking, honest, the kind who teach you values and all that. My dad worked in construction his whole life, and my mom was an elementary school teacher until she retired like 3 years ago. We never had a lot of money, but we never lacked anything important either. We lived in a small town where everyone knows everyone, one of those places where your mom finds out what you did before you get home because the neighbor already called her. Alexandra moved to the big city after college, got a job in finance that supposedly pays really well, though she's never been very clear with the details. I stayed closer, like an hour away from my parents, in a medium-sized city where the cost of living is reasonable and I can save something. In July of this year, so like 6 months ago, my mom called me. This was weird because she normally texted me, not phone calls. When I answered, she sounded worried, like nervous, and told me they needed help with some bills. Turns out my dad had to reduce his work hours because his knees were hurting him a lot. Years of construction literally took their toll, and the medical expenses plus the reduced income was affecting them. She told me they didn't want to ask me for money, but they were considering taking out a loan and wanted my opinion. The truth is, it broke my heart to hear her like that, like embarrassed to have to talk about this with me. I told her immediately not to worry, that I was going to help them. My job pays decently and I live alone in a small apartment. I don't have many extravagant expenses, so I had savings and could send money monthly without it affecting me too much. We agreed that I'd transfer like $800 each month, which was enough to cover the electricity, water bills, my dad's car payment, and some extra things. My mom cried on the phone and thanked me like 1,000 times, told me I was a blessing and that she didn't know how they were going to pay me back. I told her not to worry about that it was the least I could do. I started sending them money religiously every month since July. I set up an automatic transfer from my account, so it would go out on the first of each month directly to their account. It was easy, You'd go into the bank app, program the transfer, and done. My mom always sent me a message thanking me when she saw the deposit. Sometimes she'd call to tell me what bills they'd been able to pay. It felt good to be able to help them, honestly, like I was finally doing something significant for them. What I didn't know, and this is where things get ugly, is that Alexandra was telling my parents that the money was coming from her. I mean, let me explain this well, because it's important. During these months, from July to December, I was sending the money on the first of each month. Alexandra was apparently telling my parents, over the phone or when she visited them, that she was the one helping them financially. She told them stories about how she'd had a good bonus at work, or had saved extra and wanted to help them. My parents, obviously, believed her because she's the perfect daughter who never does anything wrong. And I, like an idiot, had no idea this was happening because my parents assumed both monthly deposits were coming from her, so there was no reason for them to mention anything weird to me. I found out about all this in the worst possible way. On Christmas Eve, every year my family does this big dinner at my parents' house. Some aunts and uncles come, cousins, close family. This year I arrived around 6 in the evening with an apple pie I'd bought at the town bakery. You don't cook. Very well, honestly, and some gifts. Alexandra was already there, obviously, all dressed up in an expensive dress with her "I'm better than everyone" attitude. Dinner started normally. Traditional food, Christmas music in the background, my dad telling the same jokes he tells every year. After dinner, we were all in the living room and my mom got sentimental, you know how moms get at Christmas, and started talking about how grateful she was to have a united family and all that. Then she looked at Alexandra and told her, in front of everyone, that they didn't know what they would have done these last months without her help, that the money she'd been sending them had been a lifesaver, that she was a wonderful and generous daughter. Everyone started praising Alexandra. My aunt commented, "What a blessing to have a daughter like that." My cousin said he also wanted to be successful like her, so he could help his family. I sat there processing what I'd just heard. At first I thought I'd misunderstood, but then my mom kept talking about how Alexandra had explained that she'd had a very good year at work, and that's why she could help them each month. Alexandra was there smiling, accepting all the compliments, saying things like, "Oh, Mom, it's nothing. You raised me well and it's the least I can do." I felt like someone had thrown a bucket of cold water on me. My hands started shaking and I had that feeling in my chest. You know, when you're so angry you feel like you're going to choke. I waited for my mom to finish talking and then, trying to stay calm but probably failing horribly, I said, "Mom, Dad, I need to clarify something. Alexandra hasn't been sending you money." "I have. Since July, I've been transferring $800 every month to your account." The room went silent. My mom looked at me confused and said, "What are you saying, Brianna? Your sister has been helping us." I told her, "No, Mom, it's been me. I can show you the receipts in my bank app right now." Alexandra laughed, like a nervous laugh but also condescending, and said, "Brianna, I don't know why you're saying that, but I have proof of all the transfers I've made." She got up and took out her phone, searched for something for a few seconds and showed the screen to my mom. I couldn't see what it was exactly from where I was sitting, but my mom nodded and said, "Here are the receipts. Alexandra, show them to your sister." Alexandra passed me the phone with a smug smile that made me want to wipe it off her face. I looked at the screen and they were screenshots of what appeared to be transfer receipts. They looked legitimate, with dates, amounts, confirmation numbers. But I knew they were fake because I had made those transfers. I told her, "These are fake. Give me a second and I'll show you my bank app." I opened my phone, went into the bank application, and that's when everything went to hell because the damn app wouldn't load. It stayed on the loading screen, like a circle spinning, forever. I tried closing it and opening it again. Nothing. My internet was working fine, other apps were working, but of course, the bank app decided to die at exactly the worst possible moment. My dad, who until that moment had been quiet, stood up and told me in a voice I'd never heard from him, "Brianna, your sister showed us proof. If you want to make up stories to get attention, this isn't the time or place." I tried to explain that the app wasn't working, but that I could show them the confirmation emails or we could call the bank or whatever was necessary. My mom shook her head and said, "I can't believe you're doing this. Ruining Christmas with lies." Alexandra had watery eyes, as if she were the victim, and said, "I don't know why you're doing this to me. Bri, I thought we got along well." I tried to stay calm. I told my dad, "Please, just give me a chance to prove it. I can go to an ATM right now and get my account history." My dad said, "No, that's enough. I think it's better if you leave." I thought he was joking, but his face was serious, like really upset. I told him, "Dad, are you serious?" And he said, "Yes, you need to leave now. I'm not going to allow you to disrespect your sister in my house. I don't know if you've ever been kicked out of somewhere like that, but it feels horrible." The whole family was there watching, some uncomfortable, others clearly on my parents' side. My cousin Nina, who's always been kind of the black sheep of the family too, looked at me with a what the hell face, but didn't say anything. I grabbed my bag, didn't even bother taking the pie or the gifts, and left the house. Outside it was cold, like those December colds that cut your face, and I was standing there next to my car, a 2016 Toyota Corolla I bought used, trying to process what had just happened. I drove aimlessly for like 20 minutes, just going around the town, passing by the park where we played as kids, by the elementary school, by all those places that are supposed to make you feel nostalgic, but in that moment just made me feel worse. I ended up at a 24-hour coffee shop that's on the highway, one of those with bad coffee and dry donuts. but that's open when you have nowhere else to go. I sat at a table in the back and tried to get the bank app to work again. Nothing. I called the bank's customer service, but it was Christmas Eve, and there was only an automated message saying they were closed until after Christmas. Around 10 at night, Nina sent me a message. She asked where I was and if I was okay. I told her I was at the coffee shop, and she told me to come to her house, that she lived like half an hour from there. Nina is the daughter of my mom's sister. She's 32 and a doctor, like one of those who doesn't get married or have kids because she's focused on her career. And the family is a bit uncomfortable with that, but I've always liked her, precisely because of that. I got to her house, and she opened the door in sweatpants and a hoodie. You could tell she'd already taken off all her makeup from dinner. She let me in, gave me hot tea, and let me vent. I told her the whole story from July, the monthly transfers, my mom's call asking for help, how Alexandra had apparently been taking credit for everything. Nina listened to me nodding and at one point said, "You know what? This sounds typical of your family. They've always treated Alexandra differently." She wasn't rude saying it, just honest. And the truth is, she was right. She asked me if I had any other way to prove the transfers, and then the light bulb went off. The bank emails. I went into my email on my laptop, searched for the confirmation emails that the bank sends automatically every time you make a transfer, and there they were. All of them. From July to December, every first of the month. An email confirming the transfer of $800 to my parents' account. They had the confirmation number, the date, the time, the last 4 digits of my account, and the destination. Account. Nina reviewed them with me and said, "This is solid proof. You have to show them this tomorrow." I barely slept that night. Nina lent me her guest room, and I stayed there tossing and turning in bed, thinking about how Alexandra could have done something like this, how my parents had believed I was capable of lying about something so serious, about all those years of being the invisible daughter. I also felt stupid, honestly, for not having realized sooner what was happening, for not having verified with my parents that the money was arriving correctly from the beginning. Christmas Day, I woke up early, like 7 in the morning, though technically I'd barely slept like 2 hours. Nina was already awake drinking coffee in the kitchen. She made me breakfast, some scrambled eggs with toast, and told me I had to go back to my parents' house and confront them with the real evidence. I was nervous. I'm not going to lie, because part of me was afraid that even with the emails I wouldn't believe me, that they'd find some way to justify everything and keep favoring Alexandra. I got to my parents' house around 11 in the morning. There were several cars parked outside because the whole family also gets together on Christmas Day to open gifts and eat what was left over from dinner. I knocked on the door, and my mom opened it. She looked surprised to see me and not particularly happy. She told me, "Brianna, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I need to talk to you and Dad. I have proof that I've been sending you money." She sighed, like resigned, and let me in. Everyone was in the living room again, like a replay of the night before but with daylight. Alexandra was sitting on the couch next to my dad, laughing at something someone had said. When she saw me come in, her smile froze a bit. My dad looked at me and said, "I thought we made it clear last night that we didn't want this drama." I told him, "Dad, please, just give me 5 minutes. And if after seeing what I brought you still don't believe me, I'll leave and never mention this again." Nina, who had come with me for moral support, nodded toward my mom. My mom looked at my dad. My dad made that gesture of exhaling hard that he does when he's annoyed but going to give in, and said, "Okay, 5 minutes." I took my laptop out of my backpack, opened it, and shared the screen with them, showing my email. I explained that every time you make a bank transfer, the bank sends a confirmation email. I showed them the one from July, then August, September, October, November, and December. 6 emails, each one confirming a transfer of $800 to an account ending in the same 4 digits as their account. My mom came closer to look more carefully. She read one of the emails completely, then another. My dad also stood up to see. Alexandra was sitting very still. She no longer had that smug smile. She looked pale, honestly. My aunt, the same one who had praised Alexandra so much yesterday, asked, "But Alex, it showed us receipts last night too. How can it be that you both have receipts for the same transfers?" That was the million-dollar question. Obviously. That's when Alexandra decided to do her dramatic number. She stood up from the couch, with teary eyes, and started this speech about how she really had sent money too, that maybe there was confusion with the dates or amounts, that she had legitimate receipts and didn't understand why I was trying to discredit her. She said, literally, maybe we were both helping mom and dad without the other knowing. Could that be it, right? It's possible there was a misunderstanding. She sounded convincing. I'm not going to lie, because Alexandra has always been good at talking and playing the victim when it suits her. But I was already fed up with this whole situation. I told her, okay, Alexandra, if you also sent money, show me the confirmation emails from your bank. She said she didn't have her laptop there but could show the screenshots again. I told her, no, screenshots can be edited. Show me the emails directly from your email account. She got more nervous, started searching on her phone, and after like 2 minutes of uncomfortable silence said she deleted the emails because she regularly cleaned her inbox. Nina, bless her, intervened and said, you know what? There's an easy way to resolve this. Let's all go to the ATM. Brianna and Alexandra pull up their account histories from the last 6 months, and we'll see which account the transfers really came from. My mom looked at my dad. My dad nodded, and we all got in our cars. It was literally a caravan of family shame going to the bank ATM that's in the town center. We arrived and there were like 3 people in line. We had to wait a few minutes. That felt eternal. When it was my turn, I inserted my card, entered my PIN, and selected the option to print the history from the last 6 months. The machine started printing a long receipt, one of those that keeps coming and coming. I grabbed it and passed it to my dad. There they were, clear as day. 6 transactions of $800 each, all on the first day of the month from July to December, all marked as transfers to an account ending in exactly the numbers of my parents' account. I told Alexandra, your turn. She looked like she wanted the earth to swallow her, but she had no choice. Everyone was looking at her. She approached the ATM, put in her card, and pulled up her history. My dad took it, reviewed it page by page, and there wasn't a single transfer to his account. Nothing. Not in July, not in August, not in any month. 0 transfers. My mom snatched the receipt from my dad and reviewed it herself, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. There was a horrible silence. My dad looked at Alexandra and asked her, what does this mean, Alexandra? She started crying, like really crying or acting incredibly well. I don't know, and said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I just wanted you to be proud of me. You always expect so much from me, and I felt like I was disappointing you because I hadn't been able to help you financially like I wanted. So when Brianna started sending money and you didn't know who it was, I just let you think it was me. I didn't think it would matter so much who was sending it as long as you were getting help. That excuse was so weak that even I, who was furious, was surprised. My mom said, you let us think it was you. You made fake receipts, and you kicked your sister out of our house on Christmas Eve, making her look like a liar. Alexandra sobbed louder and said something about how sorry she was and that she was going to therapy or something. Honestly, I stopped paying attention because I didn't care about her excuses anymore. My dad looked devastated, like really shocked. He turned to me and said, Brianna, I don't know what to say. My mom also came closer. She had tears in her eyes and told me, we made a terrible mistake. We should have believed you. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me wanted to scream and tell them everything I'd felt these years of being ignored, but another part was just tired. I told them, it's not just this, you know? It's years of making me feel like the second choice, like nothing I did was enough compared to Alexandra. Alexandra at that moment walked toward her car, still crying, and got in. She started it and left the bank parking lot without saying anything else. I don't know where she went. I guess back to her apartment in the city. My parents asked me to come back to the house with them, that they needed to talk to me properly. Honestly, I didn't feel like it, but Nina told me to go, that I needed to hear what they had to say. Back at the house, after all the other family members left, because obviously the drama ruined the whole Christmas gathering, the 3 of us sat in the living room. My mom started apologizing, told me I was right, that they had favored Alexandra their whole lives and that it wasn't fair to me. That it was never their intention to make me feel less, but they'd gotten used to a pattern and didn't realize the damage it caused. My dad said he was sorry too, that he'd treated me horribly last night and there was no excuse for that. I cried. Honestly, I didn't want to cry, but everything came out. Years of stored up feelings. I told them how much it had hurt to always be invisible to them, how every achievement of mine was ignored while Alexandra received applause for minimal things. I told them the money wasn't even the important thing, that I'd sent it gladly because I loved them, but that it hurt that even that had been attributed to her without even asking me or considering me. We spent like 3 hours talking. It was one of those difficult but necessary conversations. You know, the kind that lays bare all the ugly family dynamics. My parents promised me they were going to work on treating us equally, that they were going to recognize when they were favoring Alexandra, that they wanted to rebuild their relationship with me. I don't know if I completely believe them yet, because these are years-long patterns and that doesn't change overnight. But at least they acknowledged the problem, and that's a start. As for Alexandra, I haven't spoken to her since that day. She's sent me like 5 text messages apologizing, saying she's embarrassed and knows she ruined everything. Part of me feels a bit sorry for her, because obviously she has her own issues if she felt she needed to invent this whole lie to feel validated. But I'm also angry and hurt, and I'm not ready to forgive her yet. Maybe someday. I don't know. But not now. My parents gave me back all the money I sent, said they'd saved it because they wanted to return it to me eventually, even though they thought it came from Alexandra. I tried to tell them to keep it, but they insisted. They transferred me the full $4,800. They also told me they were going to talk to Alexandra about reimbursing me for emotional damages or something like that. But honestly, I'm not interested in her money. I want her to understand what she did and why it was wrong. It's been like 10 months since then, and things are different. My parents call me more often, ask about my work and my life, come visit me at my apartment, which they never did before. My mom invited me to lunch last week, just the 2 of us, and talked to me about her childhood and how her older sister was always their parents' favorite. Told me she never wanted to repeat that pattern, but apparently did it without realizing. It was a nice, honest conversation, and it made me feel like maybe they can change. Alexandra and I exchange messages from time to time now. Nothing deep. Just like happy birthday or have a good day on holidays. We haven't talked again about what happened at Christmas. My parents say she's also really going to therapy, trying to work on her issues with needing validation and all that. I'm glad for her, I guess. But our relationship is never going to be what it was before, if it ever was anything genuine. What impacted me most about all this was realizing I'd been accepting crumbs of attention and affection from my family for years, thinking it was normal or that it was my fault for not being interesting enough. But it wasn't my fault. I deserved to be seen and valued just like Alexandra. And the fact that I had to literally prove, with bank receipts and account statements, that I was telling the truth about something as basic as helping my parents is absurd when I think about it now. I'm still processing everything, honestly. Some days I'm fine and feel like we're moving forward as a family. Other days I get angry again when I remember how they kicked me out of the house on Christmas Eve without even giving me the benefit of the doubt. Nina tells me it's normal, that healing these kinds of wounds takes time, and it's okay not to have everything resolved immediately. The only thing I know for certain is that I'm not going to accept being the invisible daughter anymore. If my parents keep showing favoritism toward Alexandra, I'm going to point it out. If Alexandra tries to manipulate situations again, I'm not going to stay quiet. I learned that my voice matters and that it's okay to demand to be treated with respect and equity, even within your own family. Especially within your own family, I'd say.